Hi everyone. A couple of years ago I bought a pair of ST43 Lewmar wave grip winches second hand from a guy, and when I bought them he said that the rope stripper, which is a piece of plastic inside the winch, on one of them had lost a part and the other one had a crack in it, but that they were working fine, which is true. They'd worked fine, and for a year, 18 months after I bought them, and then one of them broke completely into about 7 pieces which were not repairable. Now, I did a bit of research on the internet and found 2 places in America that had stock of these things, which are the rope stripper part. One place was $143 per piece of plastic, plus taxes plus shipping, so £170 each, so I needed 2. The other place was marginally cheaper at about £80–90 per rope stripper, plus tax plus postage from America, and that's never cheap. So that wasn't a really viable option, and gluing them back together wasn't a real good option. So I did a little bit of research about 3D printing, and in the end I bought a real cheap 3D printer off of Amazon and a couple of rolls of filament, and learnt how to use it. And after about 3 weeks of experimenting and playing with the 3D software that you need to use, it's called I use a program called FreeCad, which, as you can guess, is free, and all you have to do is learn how to use it, which is it's a quite steep learning curve, and it took me 2–3 weeks before I could sit down and plan how to produce this item. As you can see, maybe on that, let's take that right in a bit. It's a tube with a lip on the end. So it's a reasonably complex, and I guess in the original would be injection moulded and made of ABS plastic. So I bought the 3D printer, I learned how to do it. This is about the 5th or 6th iteration. I had to measure one of these very, very accurately to make it fit the winch. Made a couple of prototypes in plastic called PLA, which is cheap and cheerful, but it proved the point. I could brought it down, put them on the winches. Yes, it worked, so I knew I had a good design. And then I tried printing with plastic called PETG, which is the same kind of plastic as most drinks bottles are made of. That's quite a bit stronger than PLA, and it's slightly more flexible, but it has a certain amount of UV resistance and a certain amount of marine resistance, if you like. I ended up printing the final versions with a plastic called ASA, because the cheap printer I bought is not capable of printing ABS, and it also, when you're printing ABS, it smells and gives off toxic fumes, and I couldn't be bothered with all of that. ASA gives off some fumes, but 90% less, and it's, if you leave the window open when you're printing, you don't notice it at all. Anyway, that's about the story of it. Some of the pictures I'll be showing later on in the video are part of the design process of how I put it together, and it's something which I think anybody who with a practical bent and is reasonably competent with a computer should be able to produce a workable result. If anybody wants ST43 rope strippers, contact me and I'll send you some. Hi there. This is not going to be a tutorial on AutoCAD. It is literally just a quick run through. Right, to create, what I'm going to be doing is we go into FreeCAD and we create a new application, new page, a new body, and the first thing we do is create a sketch which I've created on the XY plane, and as you can see, it's a circle and it's 50mm radius. So I'm going to close that. And the next stage to do is to click on this up here, which is the pad, and I'm going to set it to 15mm and symmetric to plane. And what that means is that the pad will be created above and below the plane. And OK that. And if we go to this view, you can see the axis is in the middle, going X and Y. The next stage is to create the tongue that sticks out from the side of the pad, and to do that we are going to create another sketch on the XY plane, which is there, and I'm just going to switch that, which allows me to see the actual origin of the XY plane. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a square box from about there to about there, and we'll drag it out a little bit, shall we? Yeah, okay, there we go. And to make it a little bit more realistic, what we're going to do is lock it in size to 38mm. Okay, and we're going to do the same here, so it's nice and symmetrical. 38mm, and then what we're going to do is just drag this one out so that it touches both of the circle, and then I'm going to lock that horizontally there, and that will hold that, and this one will just make it a little bit smaller. Okay, that's all we really need to do at this point, so I'm going to do update and close. And again, what I'm going to do is select pad, and I'm going to make it 5mm and symmetric to plane. Okay, and you can see we now have the tongue sticking out from the pad, which will become our rope stripper. Obviously this is a simplified version, and therefore what you're seeing is just a rectangle. Right, next stage would be to create our central hole. So we create a new sketch on the XY plane, turn on the visibility through, and I'm going to draw a circle from the center outwards. This is very easy because you literally just drag it out to about there, and then from the toolbar I'm going to select constrain radius and select that and say it is going to be 45mm. Okay, and just drag that out the way so you can see it. Close that again, and you can see the sketch is there where it's shown in green just on the corners. And this time we're going to select a hole, which is on the top create pocket with a selected sketch, which is this one. Going to make it 20mm and symmetric to plane. Okay, and there we have a rudimentary rope stripper. Obviously it would need tidying up and getting this shape correct. And what we then do is select the body and go to File and Export, which I don't think shows up on this video capturing for some reason. And that is basically, once you have that file exported, then you take that file into the Cura slicing software and prepare it for printing. This is Automated Cura, which is the program used to convert the output from our 3D modeling package into a file format that the printer can understand. So we just add the file we want, which is the rope stripper, and you see it plonks it down there. The program then will slice the object into as many slices as needed. In fact, it's 68 on this particular model, and you can inspect how the model is being built. You can see this is actually, if you look, this is using a grid of walls inside, which is not, this is sort of like the basic, whereas on the actual final product I'm using 100%, so I'll just convert that. It slices it again automatically, and you can now see it takes a lot longer, but everything now is just printed in lines, and it's a lot more solid. Now the turquoise grid pattern under here is actually just to support the tongue of the rope stripper, because obviously as it's hot plastic it will tend to sag, and the whole idea of the support is just to stop that. Now the menu here, which is all of the settings for Cura, and there are thousands, this is actually a very basic one, and a lot of the success or failure of 3D printing is down to how you set all this up, and this is a program which would need some long practice and playing with, and that is not the purpose of this exercise. So that's a quick view of Cura, and then when you're finished and you're happy with it, you save to disk, or if you have a removable SD card which you plug into your printer, you save to removable disk. Okay, take the top cap off first, which is 4 screws, which takes forever. Okay, remove the top cap, and then you pull these locking rings, clips, you can call them, out, and then this will come off, which is the actual arm that does the stripping. If you don't know, you take these 3 screws out. Now we see the beast. That's the rope stripper. This one has been, this has been on now for a few weeks. There's no sign of any wear or tear, and this is actually made out of a material called ASA, which is pretty good UV resistance, quite tough, as you can see. Compare it with the old one, pretty much the same, as you can see, except it hasn't got a crack down the middle, just there. See a bit better. I glued and welded with a soldering iron this one back together again before I bought the printer to make this. Anyway, there it is. So it just fits over nice loose fit. There's no real effort that goes on here apart from as the rope comes out. Let you get a rough idea of it. That goes about there. And then we put screw hole. Don't need to tighten them up very tight because they're locked in place by the other bits, but it's fairly obvious, I guess. Right, put this bit on next, lining up with the actual rope stripper. So. Okay, then you put these clips in. Just putting my finger down the hole and pulling up. There we go. And then what happens is there are slots here which you line up with the screws. So it'll go there, it'll go there, and so on around the place. So where we normally have it is there. Put the top cover on it, lining up with what's beneath, and then you put the screws back. So the advantage of 3D printing my own is that even if these wear out or disintegrate or whatever, to reprint one of these is about 40p, I think. Takes a couple of hours because it's solid plastic, it's not hollow at all. As is this. I print this 100% infill, 100% everything. So it's just a pure piece of plastic. I'm assuming that's going to be the strongest. There we go. You don't need to tighten up too hard because if you do, you'll just break the damn things. Break things. There we go. So now we're back together again. Should put it back on. Ready to go. Simple as that.